Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio to discuss whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever issues of life you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. You can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so that is the reason that we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And if you order right now 2 cases or more at FijiWater.com, you will receive a 25% discount on your order. This is not your subscription. This is a one-time order of 2 cases or more for 25% off. Your code is SPRING because spring has sprung at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe, because we see you tuned in international countries, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for the opportunity to be in your listening and viewing environment. And so, of course, we are Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live, we are RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. You go to RadioFreeNetwork.com, click on radio, the drop box will appear, click on New Life, and every video is available to you. Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and the Sunday sermon at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue in Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. And now we have expanded our listening and viewing platforms. You can now tune in to be encouraged, to be empowered, and to be inspired on our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio. You go to rdo.to/WKAP. Or, of course, you can go to RadioFreeNetwork.com, click on radio, the drop box will appear. You will see a link for WKAP. But we want to make certain that everyone has the opportunity to tune in 24 hours a day, not just for the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, but 24 hours a day to be able to tune in and be encouraged, be empowered, and be inspired to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly become. And so we are live with you, broadcasting always from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio. So I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your husband never wants to go out to a new restaurant. He's always wants to eat at the same places. How do you get him to try something different? You know, jokingly, I could respond and say, I've got nothing for you. And the reason I chuckled is because I have a very similar personality. The issue is that your husband knows what he's going to get when he goes where he likes to go, the places that he likes to frequent. He knows he's going to get good food and he's going to get good service. You want him to try different experiences, which is not a bad thing. And as I said, the reason I had to chuckle is because my wife and I live the same example. She loves places that are eclectic, that provide atmosphere, that provide new experiences, new taste of food. And, you know, I like different cultures of food. I love Spanish food. I love Mexican food. I love Italian. I love Indian food. I love different types of food that I enjoy. I'm not much for trying places that are just different. My wife likes to try different places. And I get where you're at with this. But the problem is your husband's not going to change going to the same places he always wants to go because he knows exactly what he's going to get. The worst thing for people who have this type of behavior, this type of thought process like myself, is to go someplace. First of all, let me say this, to go someplace and get just food that's in the center of your plate, and when you leave hungry. That's the worst experience. The second experience is you go someplace and you don't like the food. That's a bad experience also. And then of course you go someplace and you don't know what kind of service you're going to get, or you don't get good service even if it's in a fine dining establishment. You expect good service when you go to a fine dining establishment. That's always my expectation. And if there's a problem, I'm not going to not tip the server. I'm not going to, because they're working, but I'm not going to say anything to them. I'll talk to the manager. But that doesn't happen very often. And as a matter of fact, I could probably count on both hands the number of times that has happened over the course of my lifetime. So it doesn't happen often, but when you frequent the same places, it's not so much they get to know you, it's more that they know exactly what your expectations are. They know that if you like the bread that they serve at the restaurant, they know they're going to bring you bread and they're going to keep the bread coming. Now I have had to cut back on my bread, but nonetheless, they're going to keep it coming because they know that's what you like. They're going to make certain that your food is done the way you like it done because you've dined there numerous times. They know exactly how you like it. They will even sometimes just come to the table and ask you, are you going to have what you normally have, or did you want to try something different? It's just good service. It's good food and it's good service. So he's going to keep doing those things. But here's what I'm going to say to you, because when my wife asks me to go to some of these places, I will go just to make certain that I accompany her and of course, you know, pay for the meal. But the point is, she has a right to enjoy those experiences. You have a right to enjoy those experiences. So just try this. Occasionally, don't always try to force him to go to some place you want to go. Go with him to the places that he enjoys going, and occasionally ask him to take you someplace different. That will work every time, I promise you. It will work every time. If you just say, so I'll give you a practical example. My wife and I have found a restaurant. Well, actually, I didn't find it. My wife found it and she told me about it. And she said, you've got to try this. And so everyone we've told about this restaurant now goes to the restaurant. And I won't mention the name just because they're not one of our sponsors, but I will say this. Their food is high quality food. It's organic. It's good food. But I had never experienced it before. She had dined there with some business colleagues and came back and told me about it. Everyone we've told about the restaurant goes to the restaurant now on a consistent basis. And so that's some place that I enjoy going consistently now. So if she doesn't feel like cooking, then I'll say, maybe how about if we go to that restaurant? She never says, we're not going to go to that restaurant. But every now and then she may say, well, let's try this that I read about, because she does a lot of reading. She said, I read about this restaurant. Can we try this restaurant? And of course I'll go. There's nothing wrong with trying different places. But what you don't want your husband to do is you don't want him to go to any place that's familiar to him. And he's not going to do that, because that's just not that's a personality type. We know exactly what we want. We know exactly what we're getting. And most importantly, we know that the people who serve us are going to give us exactly what we want. So that is the primary reason. It's not that he just doesn't want to go to new restaurants. You just got to be intentional about it. You just got to ask him if you can try this, and he'll do it. You're not living with a tyrant. I don't know your husband personally, but I was prayerful about this, and God showed me in that secret place of your life, you've got a good man. He'll go with you because he wants to go with his wife. He'll do it because you ask him to do it. But telling him to stay away from places that he wants to attend, to go to some place that he doesn't know, that's unfamiliar to him, that's not going to work out. And that's why, these are simple issues of life, but they're complicated for the people who are living through them, if you don't find a way to navigate them. So I'm delighted you sent in this communication, because I can promise you, there, just as I had to chuckle when I read it, I have to say there's other people out there experiencing the same thing. So we get to share right here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, how to navigate these issues of life so that they don't become a contention among couples, because it's really not that serious. It's just a matter of, sometimes we go to the places that you always want to go to, and sometimes we'll try something different. You got to know that there's something about consistency that is always going to lead to success. Now you might say, well, how does that apply in the restaurant setting? If your husband starts going out to places repeatedly with you, and he doesn't like what he's getting, and he doesn't like the experience, meaning the service, he's going to stop going out, and he'll just eat at home, because it's less troublesome to his spirit. We don't really need to make this that complicated. Let's just live out a quality of life by doing things that we know are going to lead to success, and by accepting things that are going to also be part of our success. This has become a real sore spot for you in your marriage, particularly these last couple of years. And the reason that I say that is because now you haven't been able to go out at all, and you want to just go everywhere. So you've been telling him, these are the places you want to go, and this is your expectation. And you think he should go just because he's your husband. And he's saying, but I want to make sure I get a good meal, and I want to make sure I get good service, but you're not listening to that. So you've got to know that this really is not a complicated issue. I can tell you, my wife and I have had this discussion over the years. There are just places that I want to go, not because the people there know me, but they know what I expect. And they're always going to give me good service. I know what the food, I know the menu. It's not even an issue where they have to bring me a menu. They always do, just in case I want something else, but they don't even have to bring me a menu. I know what I want. And that's what I'm going to order, and I know what my expectation is, that the food's going to be good, and I know that I'm going to get good service. And that's the same thing your husband is saying to you. He just wants to go to places where he's going to experience exactly what he anticipates, because there's nothing worse than having a meal you don't enjoy, not getting enough food to eat, and having bad service. That's a terrible combination. So I want to say to you, just know that this is going to be okay. Just ask him to try some different things from time to time, and I'm sure that you'll find he's willing to do that. It doesn't have to be an issue in your marriage. It just has to be something that you discuss and that you resolve at peace between two people who have joined together in holy matrimony for the rest of your lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. If you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that every relationship you have has ended in disaster. And you want to know, how do you build a successful relationship? You know, it's very interesting. So many people, first of all, we have to look at our language. So you said every relationship you had has ended in disaster. Every relationship hasn't ended in disaster. Every relationship has just come to an end. You want to know, how do you build a successful relationship? And the answer to that really lies within. And what that looks like is this. You must decide what you really want from a relationship. You have to make a decision on what you want to accomplish personally and what you want to accomplish professionally while you're in a relationship. How much time are you going to need to give to your career versus a relationship? And you have to find a relationship that fits within those dynamics. Are you really prepared to be married? That's the personal side of it. And if so, what are you doing to work towards that end? So a successful relationship is defined by what you want to accomplish. What's the goal that you want to accomplish? Because there are people who, how about this? I can remember there was a time when people would say they were confirmed bachelors. Men who did not want to get married. They just wanted to date. There were women who said, I don't want to get married because I don't want to have children, and I don't want to have to worry about taking care of a spouse. And I don't, there was a time when people said that. We've seen more of that in recent years. But the reality is you have to decide and define what you want in every relationship. Now, your relationships that ended in disaster because there was too much conflict over what each of you wanted. So there was a tug and a pull. There was a push. There was a lot of conflict going on and dissension going on that never allowed you within those relationships to form a bond that could not be broken. Everyone was in it for what they wanted out of the relationship, not what you wanted to accomplish within the relationship, but what you wanted out of the relationship. You wanted this, he wanted that. And consequently, it eventually ended in what you considered to be a disaster. And yes, and in some cases, you have had relationships that have ended in disaster. Because as I was prayerful about this, God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life, there has been some disaster. But not anything that you could not recover from. It didn't end in anyone getting physically harmed to a point where you're trying to recover from it. It was emotional harm. That too can be difficult. But now as you move forward, you have to decide. Watch this. You have to decide what you really want to accomplish in every relationship. Because you're going to go through a couple more relationships before you get to where God has appointed for you to go. Part of that is you're not fully prepared, not just for marriage, you're not fully prepared yet for a relationship. And what that means is not that you're not capable of having one, you're just not capable of making it sustainable. And the reason is because there's personality conflict between you and the type of men that you're dating. So we've got to really examine what we're doing in our lives when it comes to relationships. So yesterday I was having a conversation with someone, and they were sharing with me about another friend who is really a good person. And they were saying that, but the type of people that they're dating are not the people, they'd be good for someone else, but they're not good for him. And the reason they're not good for him is because he wants to accomplish something very specific, and they're accomplishing something very specific, so they don't have room to make adjustments in their life to accommodate what he wants to build in a marriage. And it's very interesting because at the end of the day, he has we like to use the term old soul, because he's younger. He's at the later part of millennial, and well, maybe not quite there. He's about my son's age, but he has an old soul. And what I mean by that is, he had parents who have been married for 4 decades. He's got grandparents that were married their entire lives. So that's all he knows. He wants to build that type of relationship. That's what he wants to accomplish. He wants to have someone in his life who he can build a marriage, a relationship that will lead to marriage, that will lead to having children and being married for the next 50 years. That's his goal. The women that he dates right now are very accomplished women, but they're not looking for the same thing. And the reason I'm using this story as an example is because he's decided exactly what he wants to accomplish in a relationship. Now he has to find someone that matches up with that. And he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. So you have to decide as a woman that what you want to accomplish in a relationship, and make sure that whoever finds you is able to accomplish together what you both want to accomplish in the relationship. So you have to prepare yourself for a relationship. It's one thing to think you're prepared for marriage. You know, you're established in your career, you're living a good life, you feel like you're prepared to be married. But before you can get married, you have to be prepared to be in a relationship. You have to be able to include someone else in your life. You have to be able and capable of saying, I'm not always going to be able to do what I want to do because I have another person to take into consideration. That's what relationships are, and certainly that's what marriage is. You're going to take the other party in the relationship, your significant other or your spouse, into consideration when you make decisions. Because it's supposed to be for the purpose of building a great quality of life. And I think that's what so many people miss, is that they're not making decisions that are going to build a great quality of life. They're making decisions that are going to make sure they live a good life. But there's a difference. And we have to be able to identify the difference and be able to implement strategy that is going to allow us to accomplish what we desire to accomplish. And that is to build a great quality of life and experience the fullness of God. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need: shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in complete Charles attire today. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company. located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your significant other proposed to you on New Year's Eve. However, after further discussion, you are at odds regarding the type of wedding you want to have. So, let me say this. I was prayerful about this because you left out a couple of components in your communication, so I'll address what God showed me in that secret place of your life, and that is, you actually want to have a massive wedding, destination. You want the whole picture that you've pictured in your mind. Your fiance, whom you said yes to when he asked you to marry him. He wants a real simple wedding in his family church. You want to, and he doesn't attend church every Sunday, but he still wants to have it in his family church because, he's taking his parents into consideration. I get it. But what you have to do, however, what the two of you have to do, is really decide what's best for the two of you, not just you. See, I think people get this confused, and I'm probably going to get some emails about this, but I'm okay with that. I love all of your emails or texts. You can email me at newlifepastor@comcast.net, and you can text me on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424, because I love hearing from you. Here's the reality. You all, it's nice that he wants to take his parents into consideration, but wedding is for the two of you. So a compromise would be good. It doesn't have to be a complete blowout. Doesn't have to necessarily be a destination. You might be able to have it someplace even other than his family church. The two of you might be able to come to terms on that so that more family could attend. If you go on a destination, everybody's not going to be able to attend. He's got a lot of the matriarch and patriarch generation still living. He wants all of them there. He knows that if you do a destination wedding, they're not all going to make it. So you may have to take some things into consideration. It may not necessarily need to be an international wedding. It may be something that could be in a domestic location, maybe closer to home, somewhere that people can still attend, because you do something internationally, everybody may not make it. That's just the bottom line. And that's what he's really thinking about. He's taking into consideration. You need to inquire his reason for not wanting to blow everything out. And I can tell you what God showed me in that secret place of your lives, and that is that he's more concerned about the two of you being able to buy a home and build and begin a family. You're more concerned about having a blowout that's going to be exciting. But the question you have to ask yourself is, having a great quality of life more exciting than having a one-time blowout that everybody's not going to be able to make it to? All of his family is not going to be able to attend if you do an international wedding. So you've got to take that into consideration. Is that important to the two of you? Because it's not, contrary to popular belief, it's not just the bride's day. Those of us who are husbands or husbands-to-be, it's their day also. It's the day that most of us feel is the best day of our lives. When we can take a wife and build and then build a family that will carry the generation. carry the legacy of God unto generation unto generation. That's what men are looking for. So just have a conversation, inquire into his reasons, give it some thought, and hopefully the two of you will be able to come together on a decision that will be beneficial to everyone concerned. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money.